Conan, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of your women. That is good. That is good.
This is the Flying Monkeys Wargaming Podcast, where if wargaming was easy, it would be your mom. This is your main host, Bam, here. If you listen at work, don't listen at work, or get yourself a damn good set of headphones. If you're listening at home, don't listen around your kids, or just don't have kids in the problem solved. We are a weekly tabletop wargaming and Warhammer 40K podcast. We predominantly focus on Warhammer 40K and its competitive play in the Midwest in the Lord Marshall Conference. So we do talk about other stuff. Like I said, I do hit the LVO, and I'm looking at getting out for other events outside the region. So we talk about those when there's some relevant data or things that are happening. So with that being said, let's get into my thought for the week. There's a lot of things going on in the game right now, especially with AdMech and it being the big bully on the tabletop. You know, I've seen people talk about getting out of the hobby, moving on to the games, doing other things, going outside and enjoying the weather, etc., etc. And my thoughts on that is you will leave Warhammer long before Warhammer leaves you. You know, I've taken a couple hiatuses in my hobby time and in my Warhammer career. I don't know if career is the good word, but my time in the hobby. And I know when I had a pretty nasty divorce, I needed to step back and let things ride a bit and focus on my kids, focus on myself, focus on what was going on professionally. And when I got done, Warhammer was right there and waiting for me. So Warhammer will be there when you get done with your walkabout or your wanderlust, and it will still be. You might find a new love for some things you didn't find before. I definitely did. So don't lose faith. Don't lose your joy of the hobby. You know, just take the break. Go see the things. Go chase the gals or chase the dudes. Whatever you're into, doesn't matter to me. And get a break from it, and whenever you're ready to come back, the hobby will be right there. So that's kind of where it's at, you know. Or just do like I do, just start a new fucking army. You know, you can start the new army, and that makes you feel good until you put it on the table and it gets blasted off by AdMech, and you're like, well, maybe I just need to start another army, and the cycle continues. But I digress. So let's get into the episode. We talk about Flying Monkey Con. We talk about random pairings, because we did random pairings for rounds 1 through 4 at Flying Monkey Con. Most players seem pretty happy with it. There were some matches that were pretty cool because of it, and we get into that. And the guys go through their experiences at Monkey Con. Ben's changing armies, so he's kind of on fire for the game again, which is cool to see. And that's a rundown of the episode, guys. Hope you enjoy it, and let's get into it. We are fresh off of Flying Monkey Con and the Flying Monkey Con 40K Champs GT, which wound up being a major. Even with drops, we still stayed, I think, in the 80s, so it was a pretty good sized tournament. And all three of these yahoos, Dan, Sean, and Ben, were involved in playing. So you have not heard, but Ben is with us tonight. Ben Sherwin from Advanced Warfare.
What up?
Dan Salmons, the luckiest man in 40K sometimes.
What up?
And Sexy Thighs in 40K, and a bum ankle, Sean Dilly.
What's up, what's up? It's on the up, though.
It's on the up?
It's on the up, yeah. Walking pretty normal now. It's just a sore, tender ankle right now.
Okay. Apparently, Sean went on a scooter tour of Wichita and tried to kill himself, so...
We'll try again.
I'm glad you survived.
Yeah. I was never worried. Everybody else was worried for me.
Dude, I tried to round you up some crutches, but I could not.
I know. I appreciate that. Honestly, I was surprised with how quickly and how well I was still moving around the tables. I played on a clock every table, still did just fine. I mean, probably helps that I was playing AdMech, so I didn't have to try that hard, but...
Dude, I was a little worried when your opponent came up to me. I think you were matched up with Kyle.
Kyle, yeah.
And he's like, hey, my opponent's not here. And I was like, well, who's your opponent? And he's like, Sean Dilly. And I was like, oh, shit. So
he's hobbling. He's just slowly getting over there.
Yeah, I'm glad you made it down there. Well, good event, guys. Dan did pretty well. Ben did pretty well. Sean, I'm not sure how you wound up, man. I don't know if I think you bounced before I catch you and talk to you. What's that?
Is it better than Ben?
Better than bad.
I ranked better than Ben.
Oh, well, you gotta rub the salt in the wound. So, but y'all
I don't
better
give a
watch
shit.
out though. Ben has been on fire all day today because he's got that love and feeling again. So
Yeah, 'cause I'm not shooting people with weenies.
he's been dojoing some Grey Knights and he's liking how it's going. So we'll
No,
have
he's
to.
been dojoing some Dread Knights. He hasn't been dojoing Grey Knights.
Dude, it's a Grey Knight inside of a robot. So,
I was just gonna say, there's a Terminator on the outside of that, so fuck you very much.
Yeah, it's Baby Carrier.
Baby carrier, yep.
yeah. So I'm basically I copied Ben's homework for a game or two. So it's I don't know. So I think Grey Knight's got some good stuff in that book. Let's dig into it. So we might just do this one at a time instead of doing it round by round. Let's go through the tournament experience. What'd you see, Sean? You can go by your games. You can talk about the meta, favorite opponent, games, whatever. I don't care. Just what was your experience at MonkeyCon? Did I lose you, Sean?
Yeah, nope. I just had a muted mic.
Okay.
I said it was fun. I think random pairings overall were a success. I hated not getting to see placings, but real quick? What was your launch behind hiding placings?
I don't think there.
Round 5 and 6.
I don't think there was any. I think when Duncan was just doing the setting stuff up in BCP, I think he just hit it for whatever reason. And then I realized it was kind of driving everybody nuts, so I just left it for a little bit. So when we fixed everything for round 5, I unchecked it, so it unhid the list. But yeah, there was no logic for it. I think it just got clicked, and I had people hit me up online, hit me up on Facebook, messaging, and I was like, man, this bothers them. I'm just gonna leave it. So. So
Definitely didn't bother me, that's for sure. I said, where am I at? I gotta see where I'm sitting.
Yeah.
Even though it really didn't matter. But yeah,
it was funny the people that would come up and try and hint that they wanted the rankings, and I would just kind of sit there like, oh yeah, that's too bad, huh? Just so I was kind of just trolling with it after I just went with it. But I figured whenever I got in there and changed everything for round 5, I would fix it. So
yeah.
But no, that was it. The logic was there was no logic. It just got checked when we were trying to set up the random pairings, and I didn't want to mess with anything till round 5. So when we changed it back over to battle points and rank tables and all that good stuff. So
that makes sense. Yeah. So you just made a mistake and you ran with it.
Just ran with it. That's what you gotta do sometimes, man. Yeah. You just gotta fucking write it out and see what happens.
Absolutely. Yeah. But my tournament was pretty good. Overall, I went 4-2. Round 1, I ran into RJ, so wasn't really too worried about that game. I just stood there and shot, and he came at me with Space Wolves. And I think he ended up calling it the bottom of turn 2. He just said, all right, I know where this is going. I said, okay, so do I. And then,
dude, real quick, I'm going to interrupt you there. On that note, RJ was so proud of himself.
Leading up to into the painting awards.
Because he went 3-3.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, no, I was happy for him too. He was right by the judges' table, and when he won, and got his 3-3, dude, that guy was beaming ear to ear, and he's like, I made my goal. I got 3-3, blah blah blah. And I was like, dude, I'm happy for you, RJ. Good job, absolutely. Man. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that was that. I think round 2. I had Salamanders. I lost that game by, I think, ended up being 5 points. But it entirely came down to me probably being sleep deprived and just misdeploying a Manipulus. I should have hit it a little bit better. He was able to kill it with an Eliminator, and at that point I wasn't able to pick up Salamanders quick enough. I needed that AP2 because they can order the whole AP1. That's a lot of my army. And he just had a hot first turn too. Holy cow! I just looked at my tray of dead stuff. I said, "Uh-oh, this is gonna be a struggle." But I was able to get it within 5 points, so I wasn't too upset. I was most upset about the whole Manipulus misplay. Round 3, I played against Death Guard. It was a hammer and anvil deployment, so I just stood where I could hit him, and he came at me, and I shot him, and that was the game. I won that one pretty easily. I didn't really do too much. I was admitted us like I think I played that a little lazy. I could have gotten some more points out of it, but a win's a win still. Round 4 was against Kyle. That game annoyed me because that game was in the bag, 100%. I should have won it. And then he had 3 Terminators at the end of the game. And I shot multiple las cannons, like a bunch of wounded. I rolled 4 damage on all of them. No big deal. Okay, whatever. He's had a 6-up Feel No Pain, and he rolled multiple sets of those double 6s. If he failed 1, I would have won the game. Like, all he had to do was not save a guy, and I would have won. But each las cannon, or it took 2 las cannons to kill each guy, and I just needed, 1 las cannon to kill one guy, 1 las cannon to kill another guy. So that put some salt on me. After that, I played White Scars, I believe. Axel, I think, Frozen North's Axel. That was a fun game. He went first, he came up, failed a couple charges, I shot. He did some more charges, I shot. I mean, it was a close game. Originally, I thought I lost the game, but he kept looking at me. He's like, "You sure? Because I have you winning." I was like, "Well, I have you winning." And then it turns out I had a whole turn of not scoring primary that I didn't mark, and what do you know, I won the game. So it's fun to win that way, I guess. That's a surprise win. And then the last game I played against Cam, the Outlanders Cam, and that was just another one of those games where I just stood there and shot, where he came at me with his Black Templar. I had my 10-man Ruststalker squad in the end kill 9 of his Black Templar Terminators. It was pretty good. So it's like the first round of combat, they killed 6 of them, and then like 6 of mine died, and then the last 4 ended up killing like another 3 before they died. I was like, Ruststalkers are pretty good at this point now. I like these guys. And they're pretty good with the veteran cohorts when they get advance and charge. They can end up getting like 5 attacks apiece too. So all pretty good stuff. Fun stuff. I think I ended up 13th overall, which isn't too shabby, I guess. But it was a fun tournament indeed. I enjoyed getting to hear Dan bitch at the end of his game. Apparently succubuses don't die or something like that.
All of his Dark Eldar characters did.
Dude, so I'm usually not the one to defend Dan. I'm usually the one to troll Dan. But I was standing there, and Dan goes, what was it, fucking Dacajet, right?
Yeah.
Dan goes, I'm going to shoot the Dacajet. And he, like, went back and forth. He's like, nah, I'm going to shoot that succubus because on principle or something like that. I can't remember exactly what he said. And he goes to shoot that succubus, gets, like, 9 wounds. And, like, in my head, I'm doing math hammer, thinking, like, okay, on a 4-up, that bitch is dead. Like, that gal's done. And Root tanked, like, all but 2 of the wounds. And so Dacajet at, like, in-the-face range unloaded into Matt's succubus and did a whopping total of 2 wounds. And I was like, God damn, I'm going to go walk to some other tables now.
Then I shot her with other stuff, and she still didn't die.
Oh lordy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty rough to not to defend Dan, but I'm gonna defend Dan because I seen it. I was there. So
Yeah.
good, man. I'm glad you had a good tournament, Sean. I'm glad it.
I did, and I just bled a little bit, so only a little bit. But my whole shoe is like covered, like the whole bottom of it is red. Like the sole and everything like that. It's like, I gotta get that clean still, but.
Well, I'm glad.
And of course, I kept getting fed drinks. So I was like, I don't know if I'm lightheaded from blood or lightheaded from drinks or. Very fun.
Well, I'm glad you did not die from your tragic accident. So, let's go to Ben. You want to talk now? Or you want to wait till you get out of the car?
Wait till I get out of the car.
All right, let's do Dan's. So,
Yes.
What was your experience, Dan?
I brought my super shooty freebooter list. It did fairly well, but it does have some issues I found out. So I played game 1 against Jason Merton. It started out kind of as a close game. He went first and left 2 planes at 1 wound, which I don't know if that made a huge difference because at least one of those planes didn't do very much. But sisters, we only had 2 rhinos, I think. So sisters don't like just that much orc firepower. So Celestine was kind of a pain to get rid of, but the rest of his army just got picked up fairly easily. So I won that one. Game 2, I played against Trenton, and he's playing Terminus Est. So Death Guard with Terminators and Poxwalkers and stuff, but no vehicles and not much for shooting. So that was kind of a one-sided game because he didn't have a real good way to deal with the planes. I think I killed 9 of the Death Shrouds and a couple of Blight Lords, and he failed a morale check on his last Death Shroud and ran away and picked up a whole new box. Yeah, I killed. Yeah, that was turn 1, plus a couple of Blight Lords. So
that's a lot of points to be picking up, man.
Well, it's just one of those they're perfectly. That's my list is loves anything under toughness 6 is great. Everything over toughness 7 is where the damage falls off. So. So I ended up winning that one because he just didn't have a good way to deal with the planes and the board control. And then I played a Tau player, I think a Scott, and played him. He went first, and he had a big Tau bomb, and then he had whatever the really long range gun is on the Riptide. So that thing shot and killed a plane turn 1. But the problem that he had is that all his big crisis unit had the air bursts, which are such short range. So they didn't really get to shoot anything. So he killed a plane turn 1. Otherwise, he really didn't do much turn 1 because everything else was out of range. So that's kind of what hurt him. And I think after my second turn, he did not have much left on the board. I think he pretty much only got 1 turn of shooting, and then the what do you call it? The Megatrax came in from Deep Strike and shot 3 damage rockets at his crisis suits, which he popped a strat to get a feel no pain, and he rolled pretty terrible on those. And so I think I killed 6 crisis suits, and then he failed a morale check, so 1 more ran, so there's 3 left, and he rolled out of those 3 dice, 2 more ran away. So, yeah. And then I played against Ben Neal in Game 4 with Dark Angels. This was a really, really cagey game. I could have played it more aggressively, probably, just to make it go faster. But he kind of just stood on his back objective and just sent a Talon Master every turn to go get Oath in the middle. And he ended the game up with 2 Contemptors who would blown up most of the planes. And his 2 Contemptors, 5 turns of shooting, did a lot of work. All the planes were dead. He killed the Megatrax. I think he hurt some buggies. So, but I was able to win that one. He still scored pretty high though. Game 5, I played against Ben. So we both knew it was pretty much whoever wins the roll to go first wins the game. So I think our first roll we tied, and then I ended up getting the go first roll. And I don't know what I pick up, probably 50 or 60 infantry.
62.
Like yeah.
Gross.
I just totally ignored the chickens because they don't have the rerolls anymore, and because I went first and Ben popped the armor save, that means his chickens are only hitting me on 4s with no rerolls when they shoot back. So yeah, so I mean my list is tweaked to try to kill Admech if I go first. So it pretty much did that. And then, but that was one of those ones where just the amount of that was one of those games that kind of started showing the problem with my list is I just have so many dice I roll, and a lot of them aren't super effective, and especially after turn 3 when the extra AP is gone, the killing power of the list kind of falls off a little bit too. So you end up rolling so many dice just to do a little bit, and you end up burning your clock. So we never even got to turn. I ran out of time before we got to turn 5, and I think Ben did too. And then the last game I played Root. He's playing as Drakari. I'm trying to think. I went first on this one. So I went up, and I think I killed two raiders. He came back, and I think he killed a plane and some mech guns. Uh, but it was a pretty bloody game. But kind of the key things from that game was like kind of what Bam was saying. He had that succubus, which that was the poison one with the triptych whip or whatever. And so I wanted to kill her so that she couldn't just run over and kill my bike squad that was kind of near her. Um, but after shooting the Docker jet and some squig buggies and I think some other things at her, she just refused to die. So the next turn she did go over and just pick up an entire unit of bikes by herself. And then later in the game, I brought in my Megatrax on turn 2 and tried to kill one of his Chronos units. And I didn't roll very good. And then top it off, I think I did 4 wounds, 4 rockets went through. So he had one. He took 9 feel no pains on the first guy and passed all 9 of them. So that that was brutal because prevented me from actually killing that unit till like 2 turns later, I think it was. And then like another turn went by, and he had a couple very wounded characters, and my Def Killer was right up in there. And he had his only character on one of the objectives was Drazar, who had 3 wounds left. And I shot I shot quite a lot of shooting at Drazar, like the Def Killer, multiple squid buggies. I think I even shot him with some smaller arms fire and a met gun, I think too, or something like that. More than enough to kill Drazar, because my plan was to just shoot Drazar off the objective, so he had no one on the objective, and then charge my Def Killer with the. He had the basically it gave me 2 chances to do mortal wounds to him and just kill his Archon, who was already wounded. And so that was my plan, but Drazar refused to die, so then I ended up having to charge my Def Killer into Drazar to kill him, which meant the Archon was then free the next turn to go on a rampage and just one-shot every buggy that was around, basically. I think on average you should do 6 to 8 mortal or 6 to 8 wounds to a buggy, and every single time he attacked he did 10, which was enough to kill him. So it was that was probably one of the bigger swings in the game, was just not the character. All of his characters just didn't refuse to die, go down easy. So it makes it pretty rare. I think I ended up killing his Archon the very last turn through mortal wounds, so he never failed a Shadowfield save. He only died from explosions and a squig bite and just mortal wounds basically. But it was a good game. I have 1 point difference. So, but that
Dude, when I was watching you guys map that, I was like, holy crap! Like it was 1 point, man.
and that's one of those two where I just needed more games in my list against, and that's where like I had theorized this with my list, but I just haven't had that many games with it yet. Where if you're playing against somebody and stuff doesn't die, then the list has like time issues, because I need things to die in order to finish the game, like with enough time. But if stuff's not dying, I still got to roll buckets of dice to pick things up. And so if it gets to like turn 3 and you haven't picked up that much stuff, or you waste a turn of shooting and nothing really happens, then I definitely had a time issue. I ran out of time that game. Where I think if I would have had a couple extra minutes even, then I could have tweaked my play on like turn 4 and turn 5 and still pulled out the win. So I'm definitely going to tweak my list to get down to take less guns and take something either more melee or I don't know. I'm going to tweak it so it takes less time, because it takes too much time to play right now.
So how was the unkillable shark bro?
He didn't do anything. he honestly was a wildly stand target. No. Ben got close to killing him, but otherwise he never died. But he generally just sat in the back and sat on the objective and kind of defended my back line. But yeah, he never died.
I came so close.
Yeah, Ben got him down to 2 wounds. But he never died. My Grots never died. But honestly, nothing, like somebody has asked me like what my MVP was, and I don't know if I really had it. Nothing really felt like it was like a combination. Like all of it together worked, but like as individual pieces, nothing was like standing out as exceptional, really.
Well, I mean, that's kind of how freebooters functions,
Yeah.
right? They all are very similar
Yep.
shooting, and then once you proc it, it's really good.
Yeah. So that's where the bikes they were okay. You know, the Docker jets were okay. Everything was okay. Nothing was super bad. Nothing was super great. So, but yeah, I definitely need to do some tweaks to the list and definitely do something to reduce the time it takes to play, because I never had, there was a good amount of nights there or Titanic heavy lists that I was nervous about playing, and I didn't play any of them, but I know for a fact if I would have played them, uh, I very well could have had the same type of issues. I think I would have had the same type of issues of actually, here I'm going to spend my entire turn, shooting I think the math is like, oh, I'm going to shoot all my planes and I'm going to do 12 wounds to a night, like on average. So that's a lot of dice rolling just to do 12 wounds to a night if you're lucky. So
So what'd you get rid of, or what? How are you playing faster now?
I'm still working on that. I haven't.
Oh.
I haven't.
You just
I
said
haven't,
you
I
did the
haven't got.
5-hour dojo, and that you
Well,
made your list faster.
but I'm not. I don't know if I like that anymore. So I gotta.
And what's funny is there's people copying Salmon's list already, and he's already changing it and tweaking it. So
Yeah, I think I talked to like Ben Jerk a little bit, and I think he had sort of similar experiences of trying to do something, because he ran a very similar list to mine and just tweaking it a little bit to try to do something.
was that Ben's dog? Did Ben's dog make a appearance?
Oh yeah,
Oh
always.
yeah. All right, sorry, Dan.
No, but yeah, I if you're gonna do a freebooters list, I think you just need to, you definitely need to practice it, and then. But yeah, if you're gonna play, if you're on a, well, honestly, if you're playing that list, you should be playing on a clock. Otherwise, you're gonna take too much time, and you probably just got to tweak some things, because taking as many guns as possible is probably not the correct play.
Well, I noticed you kept a cup of a certain count of dice that you were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I went and bought a dice tray, and then I bought one of those dice cups. That way, like when I'm shooting my Docket Jets, I can count out 42 or 36 dice, and then just keep, put the dice in there, roll it out, and then just move it keep all those 42 dice in the trays or in the cup. That way, it's like, okay, here's one Docket Jet, or next Docket Jet. That way, you're not counting out 42 dice every single time you do it.
Yeah, and I noticed you were like rolling the hits in one tray and just picking up the wounds and rolling them in another tray. And I was impressed with your system, man. It was pretty efficient. So.
Well, and that's, yeah, I mean, I was already trying to do things to make myself faster, and it still wasn't enough. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think if you're if you're gonna take I think an average person is gonna clock out like on turn 2 or turn 3 if they play freebooters, to be honest. So you gotta really think about things, but it definitely is a good list. It definitely has a lot of play. So.
Well, good, man. I'm glad you. I know ultimately you didn't win it all, but I did like.
Point away.
Well, I know, but it was good that he, the asterisk that everybody's going to hang on his head, if he wouldn't have played AdMech over the weekend, or wouldn't have gotten a solid matchup, and he managed to get that out of the way and show that the orc book is viable. I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it.
That's kind of how I felt about. Go ahead.
Well, I was to say that was the only thing about the system that I don't. It was more like me. I think because me and Ben, you can see like what people were scoring in their games, and I was scoring very high in my early games, and Ben was scoring very high very high in his early games, and then I think it was Root and Charlie both were scoring high, but then they played each other in game 3 and kind of both scored low. So I think it was like as long as we were winning, it was almost a certainty me and Ben were going to play each other in round 5. But that's just an observation. I don't know if that's good or bad about the random pairings. So
I think it's worth the like the random pairings, like having that be if people think that's a negative, I think that what you allow in without random pairings is worse. So
well, and exactly, and that was only because we both were scoring so high. If you were down, kind of down, and even like say you were without knowing the placing. That's probably the one good thing the placings did, is it didn't make it easy to go and look at where people were. Without knowing where you were, you had no idea. The whole weekend, everyone's like, I have no idea. Like no one was. It was refreshing because no one was talking about what their next game was going to be. You know, for the most part, everyone's like, I have no idea. Like I have, and it was more talk of like, man, I hope I get this person, or I hope I avoid that. It wasn't
Yeah.
trying to dojo out. Oh shit, I know I'm against this person next. What do I do?
Well, and real quick on the random pairings, the thing that was interesting was, I felt like everybody that should have been at the top tables or towards the tops at the end of it was there anyways. And the thing I did like though was I think it was giving some guys that had like not the greatest tier book or not the greatest tier of like the Tyranids for instance. There was a few Tyranids players that did super well, and their pairings weren't basically like, oh, I got 97 on this game. I had a really good game. Now let me go get smashed by AdMac. It was like, I got 97 points on this game. I'm going to go play this other list. And, basically some of those guys, I think, had a better record because the random pairings were kind to them. And they didn't get matched up with something that was going to squash them just because they weren't punished for scoring high in a game round 1 and round 2. And I liked it.
Yep.
But what do you guys think about round 4 versus round 3, or et cetera, et cetera? We still got to get through Ben's tournament experience, but while the topic was broached, I kind of want to talk about it.
I think whatever after the first game on day 2 is when you do it. Whether you're a 4-round event or a 5-round event. If you're going to make the switch to go back to battle points, which I'm totally fine with, I just don't think you do it. You don't do it until after the first game on the second day.
Yeah. After round 4, regardless, basically. Or, well, not
Yeah.
necessarily, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think it makes sense, too, because at that point, like, you don't want to keep it. I mean, eventually, records are going to be the same, so, like, the best will still play the best, but you kind of want to start separating it more so, I feel like. And that's why you like to separate it with battle points at that point.
Yeah, I don't.
We'll see what other people do, because I think other people are on it already.
Well, and that was one of the things people weren't you talking about, like, you wanted to make sure you had good games in the finals?
Yep.
See, but I guess, especially, I don't know, I feel like if you got 2 lists that are both 5-0, or let's say you got 3, like in this one, I think I think Matt Evans won was he paired down in the last?
Yeah, he was paired down.
So there was 3 undefeated in the final round. That's where I feel like the only thing it does is make sure that somebody on the top table should most likely win if you're on the top table in the last
You'll win
game,
the event.
You'll win the event. But as far as getting good games though, I feel like any of my list or Matt's list or Matt, there's 2 Matts, would have been, like, random pairing wise, would have still been fine paired up with each other. So, and I'm thinking this because of a Bug Eater, because they do like 4-2. So does it at that point, if you don't switch back, if you switch to battle points in the last round, is that even worth it? Just leave it random the whole time? I don't know. So
I think the last 2 rounds have to be battle points, it's just in my opinion, because I mean,
you gotta 5-round GTs or just.
I think 5-round GTs have to keep placings hidden until day 2 matches are starting. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, once they're like, everybody's here, okay, we got everybody checked in that's not dropping. Now we're going to release pairings, and we're going to do it by battle points. So nobody has any idea until 10 minutes before. You know what I mean?
True.
I think that's a good solid. I just think that if you just do battle points for turn 5 or game 5 after, like, you could end up with that round 4 matchups kind of skewing it in a way, because I'm not going to talk bad about anybody that played well there, but just go look at Matt Evans' matchups, and you'll see, like, he dodged everybody.
I thought that too. I was like, yeah, he really didn't play anybody of note, like nothing against them, but
right, and
I didn't recognize the name he played basically.
Outside of that, and I'm glad that he didn't jump anybody with battle points in that last game, because I don't think the flyer list really scores a lot of points. I think it wins games, but I don't think it's a high score. But, like, you run the risk of that winning the tournament if you just do 4 random battle rounds. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe I gotta think about it more. Now that I'm thinking about it, like off the top of my head, I sound a little bit stupid, but
The only where I think we're let's say the last 2 rounds are random. Let's say it ended up with Matt, and me in the finals. But let's say both Matts got paired up randomly, and then I got paired down. I had quite a bit more battle points than both of those guys going into that game. And I was definitely a significant lead. Where if I would have blown out my game, it's pretty likely I'm just gonna be on quote unquote table 2, but then I'd end up jumping both of them for the win. That's probably the argument against it, I think.
but that's kind of what I'm saying. Like you have to do at least the last round as battle points.
Yeah.
I think. But I'm worried about the last round not being enough. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know how to fix it. Thinking about it.
It's a lot better regardless than the system we have been using, I think.
I think battle points, if you battle points throughout the whole tournament, it needs to just go away. They don't do that anymore.
You know, somebody made a good point, and it took me a bit to think about it. So, so I go back and forth on like the 20-0 differential system.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side of it, it does. I think more so than the battle points, it does give people a reason to continue playing the game, kind of like because every point that you can score, even if you're losing, every point that you score matters, so more so than it does in the battle points, I feel like, but I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
One other thing I liked about random pairings too is just like it was always like a little bit exciting to see what I was going to get paired up against. It's just like it was like almost like an opening like a present on Christmas Day. Just ooh, what do I get?
True. Yeah, I definitely think random. It was a much improvement. I think it still has room to be improved more. So
I'd want to do it again, basically.
Yeah. Oh, I've done 2 events now, and I'm definitely happy with it.
I liked it. I had the debate of turn 3 versus turn 4 with myself, and I had the same thought as Ben that even if you turn it back on for turn 3, it probably shouldn't be till the last minute and right before you're about to fire that round off. Just not to give somebody else a competitive edge. And I think I saw a lot of games that wouldn't have happened otherwise happen. And it was pretty cool. I mean, so we'll see more tournaments do it. I did notice though that like the earlier rounds, I think guys were swinging for the fences, and that was the cool thing of it. Is like guys were like, I need to get these points now because they might be harder to come by later, and they were just swinging for the fences, and that's kind of 40K I like seeing going down. So,
well, I think too, me and Ben would have played each other, I think, in round 3 if we would have.
Yeah, and some of the contenders knocking themselves off earlier, is a factor that kind of it gets a little bit more minimized with random pairings. So there were still some pretty good games that got matched up early though that were kind of spicy to watch.
Oh no, I would have. Actually, if I'm just, it's hard to say for sure, but it would have been weird because I can tell you right now, just from looking at the scores, round 3 would have been some combination of Matt Evans, Matt Root, and Sherwin all playing each other.
Yeah.
So.
I don't want to play the planes, so.
Dude, that planes was nasty.
Well, I mean, I can probably fight it, but it's a go first. If he goes first, he probably blows away a lot of my stuff with mortal wounds and. Those other planes pick up chickens pretty well. He was running the last cannon planes, right, as Mars?
Yeah, he had 3 of those and 3 of the bombers.
So, I think he does the opposite of what Dan does. Instead of picking up all my Rangers, he picks up half my army, including my chickens. So I'm just like, cool.
Well, if you're playing veteran cohort, you can get I Feel No Pain.
On one unit.
Sure. Yeah. That's all you need. Or actually, if you're Mars too, right? Can't you go you could do the Canonical Feel No Pain.
I could go Shroud some because the planes don't ignore cover.
Yeah, or you could just go the Canonical Feel No Pain too, right?
Does a
and then your
Feel No Pain?
Yeah, it's a 5-up feel no pain, and then you ignore battle attrition or combat attrition.
Against mortal wounds, or?
Yeah, 5-up feel no pain
Oh,
against mortal
okay.
wounds. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a 1 CP stratagem for a 4-up against mortals for my vehicles. That's the biggest hope I got.
Well, it's only so the problem with that is it's only one vehicle. It's not a unit of vehicles.
I know, but you stack all the wounds on that one chicken, baby.
Yeah, until it dies on your first 6 rolls, right?
Yeah, well, that's the risk you run. So.
Well, good. Well, let's get through Ben's weekend.
Yeah.
Just you can Reader's Digest it if you want.
I'm going to. I mean, round 1, I played against Mark Newsom, which was a very fun game, but he just didn't have the tools to deal with the AdMech because he was souping in Grey Knights with Custodes. But I was a little worried because he had 2 Telemons. Telemons are a pain in the ass for me to deal with, turning off rerolls and making stuff -1 strength, so I wound him on 6s. But I basically just ignored the Telemons until I actually had to deal with them and just shot everything else off the board. He did have his 1 shield captain tank my whole army's worth of shooting in a turn, on turn 1, which was hilarious. But it didn't matter, because he deployed him where only 1 squad of 3 Sagittarium was covering her, so I killed 1 of the Sagittarium and then dumped my whole army into that guy. It just didn't work out. But I ended up taking a flank, and then he didn't have that shield captain to deny me any primary, really. And yeah, I just kind of took over the board and played the primary the rest of the game, so I came out of that one pretty well. Game 2, I played orcs that didn't have shooting really. He had 2 big squads of bikes, but to get into my face, what his whole plan was, I think, was to put the bikes in front, and so the bikes are tough for me to kill because they're T5, and he advanced and charged into me and didn't quite kill a transport, but I just didn't fall for that. I was like, the rest of your army is behind the bikes. I can fall back and shoot. These guys aren't that crazy in close combat. So I just left myself in close combat with the boat and fell back with everything else and then just blew away all of his infantry so I could score primary elsewhere. And the war of attrition was pretty much over after that turn 3. And that's when I dropped Gaz with Electro Priests. That was a lot of fun. I shot him 4 wounds, charged in, did 4 wounds, and then did 4 wounds in close combat. That was pretty fun. Round 3, I played Harlequins, and I got to go first. And I think I had the nastiest first turn against Harlequins I think I've ever had. I picked up 8 bikes, 2 Star Weavers, 15 troops, and a squad of Dark Reapers because he was mixed. That was pretty. After that, I mean, there was just no coming back. And then I had a turn with my Electro Priest, picked up 3 characters: Shadowseer, Farseer, Death Jester. So it was pretty good. And then I played Scott Thompson, and he was playing AdMech with the Veteran Cohort. This is where I found that my list was probably not as good as his, just because like all the tools with the chickens. I gotta say, my chickens were garbage all tournament long. I was just like, I hate these guys. There's no rerolls. I have 1 turn to get stuff done with them, and I hope it's first turn. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to try and go save to save my guys, and then go Blitzskill turn 3. But I got first turn and was able to blow away his Rust Stalkers and junk. And then my Electro Priest kind of held down the middle, and there's not a whole lot he could do about it because I kept making him fight last and killing them all. Because the first thing I did was kill his fight last relic from the Veteran Cohort. But I eventually also won the Chicken War because I had 7 chickens to his 4, which I think he had a Doom Crawler. I think it was a mistake to have the Doom Crawler instead of some extra chickens and some other stuff elsewhere. I probably would have shifted some points around and gotten either 6 chickens or 5 chickens and no Doom Crawler. But, I mean, Scott played well. But the one thing that I will say I don't like about the Veteran Cohort is the lack of Solar Flare and mobility on the Rangers. So he was just kind of stuck where he deployed them. They're not fast by any means. I mean, Stilly, you played the Mars. Did you ever play Lucius with the Solar Flare? Did you feel a difference there?
I played a couple games with it. I just never, it never really hit my play style, and I just never really enjoyed those games at any point. So I was just like, maybe I'm not getting everything that I need to get out of them, but I was just like, just not enjoying any games. So I really didn't try too hard, I guess. But yeah,
Right.
I did play a couple games.
So
I could just tell it wasn't my play style, so I just got off it quicker.
the thing that made me like realize that I want the Mars more than the Lucius is the Rangers are incredibly hard to kill as Lucius.
Mhm.
The veteran cohort makes them almost not quite as resilient, but almost. And then the big thing is it does for Mars is like the Lucius don't really help the chickens shoot. Mars does, and the amount of dice rolled into the chickens is so much less than the Rangers that the reroll is so much more impactful that you just need it. And I need to pop stuff open to shoot a lot of mechanized stuff. So that was a big realization in that game. Then game 5, I played Salmons. Obviously, you guys saw how that went on the stream. I knew going first was a big deal. I didn't know how I was going to manage it without going first because I knew he was going to pick up. I tried to save myself with save. Thinking back, it didn't save a whole lot because I don't get save in the Lucius bonus. So I probably should have just done ballistic skill and just shot better and then made him decide what he was going to shoot.
What do you
Well,
mean
I
you
still
don't get?
had-
You got
You
the
don't
army.
get.
You
Yeah,
got
go
the
ahead.
bonus. Yeah.
What's that?
You
What
don't
do you mean you
get
don't get
cover in
save and
Lucius.
Lucius bonus?
No, so in the FAQ, you get the Lucius, but if you're not,
Oh, you're talking about it's only
I
if
mean,
you're cover, right?
that's what I'm saying. Like,
Oh.
I was in cover. That's where I deployed. Was in
Gotcha.
cover. Sorry, that was the piece you were missing, except for one squad, which he mortal wounded to all shit, so they were gonna die anyway.
And see, that's another thing I like about the veteran cohort too, right? Is you're just in cover turn 1 with your Rangers.
Well, I'm not all fired up about AdMech anymore, so
That's fair. You're not, yeah.
they're fucking sapping the life out of my 40K soul as I was playing them. My last game, Zach is a great opponent, and I wasn't salty from Dan's game because I knew what was going to happen. What I was salty about was the fact that I could just go second, deploy in terrain the best I could, and still get shot off the board. Like the state of 40K going first is so strong is really starting to weigh on my soul. So any army that I can pick up that's tough and durable that doesn't just flop turn 1, it would be so much better. And I was just like, that's what I kept going through my head. I played my last game, and I really honestly didn't play it well because if you look at the secondaries I took, I just didn't care. I took Bring It Down against 2 Telemons.
And a
And 2 Manticores.
yeah, and
So I'm
some
like, yeah.
Manticores.
I'm like, yeah, I'm never getting to those Manticores. Probably not killing the Telemons, but let's do Bring It Down. And then I think I did Engage on All Fronts or Stranglehold. Either way, it was not good against that army. I don't know. I should have done Engage, and I did Stranglehold against Custodes with Telemons. So my head was just not in that game. And Bam walked by as I was just chucking models into my tray. He could tell I just did not give a single fuck about that game. I still played tactically okay, but like picking secondaries that didn't work for me and just not really caring. I didn't like pull any good tricks. Like I went for 2 dreadnoughts when I should have just gone for 1, got my points and saved my electro priest on the other side. Instead I threw both to the wind. I mean, it's just stuff like that. Just not playing my normal game. And a lot of that has to do with the AdMech. And and I'm going to bring up this point is like Samus used to give me mad shit about army hopping. And like sometimes when something's that broken, and you're trying to compete for the ITC, you have to do that. But what it does is it makes me play something that is not my play style whatsoever. And in doing so, sapped my 40K soul, and I just was not, I just wasn't enjoying the game as much because all I was trying to do was win, and I'm not winning the way I want to win. I'm winning because some dude in England doesn't know how to do mathematical probability. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Or how the English language works and punctuations or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? So I think for what I'm trying to get at is if you're gonna army hop, that's fine if that's what you enjoy. If you enjoy winning and you don't have like an army that you love, but there is, I will say, a play style should match because the AdMech don't match my play style at all. I got super excited every time I got my Electro Priest out. I'm like, fuck yeah, we're gonna get in the close combat. We're gonna punch stuff. I only have 2 units of Electro Priest. It's like what 250 points of my army. So I only got excited about 250 points of my army. And in fact, against Dan, that was the only thing keeping me in that game. Well, I wasn't ever in that game after turn 1, but like they were the only ones doing anything.
But you just rolled some bad charges too, I think. But you were trying to use your, hey, I'm gonna move up, I'm gonna charge, I'm gonna get on the objective, and try to make plays versus just I'm gonna just stat you off the with my Rangers and just blow you off the board.
Right.
So
100%.
so the admech don't allow you, and I totally agree with you when you're saying like well, to a point, like our game is a first turn game. Because if I go first, I kill your stuff. If you go first, you kill my stuff. And I don't like even orcs, even this list. I actually don't. And this is from more when I played the AdMech planes with my sisters. I don't, and before the new book came out, but I don't like planes because, I mean, they're cool. They give you some cool options, but if you go second against certain armies, they just get blown out of the sky. You know, like there was.
Right.
I mean, Merton was uh, two pips on two dudes from killing 3 planes on his first turn. So and so that's where it's like and I think that's what's kind of also skewing about AdMech is how oppressive they are. You're kind of, if you're trying to build to counter them, your best bet is to hope you go first and build something that can abuse it if you do. So.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, that turned out way more than I was expecting, but I had to get it off my chest.
Oh, it's fine. It's good content. People need to hear it. So, dude, it was a good weekend and a good tournament. I did miss playing, but the cool thing about TOing and judging is being able to like walk around and check on all your friends, walk around, see what everybody's up to. Just getting to randomly go say hi to folks that I can't normally enjoy on a GT weekend because I'm engrossed in a game. And honestly, the judge calls towards the top tables were minimal. When we had them, they were easily resolved pretty quickly, and they were just I don't know. I think one time I got called when Dan was playing Root, just to measure that he could get his rod or something, and if the unit would fit. And like it was like neither one of them were contesting it harshly, measured it, cool, he can get it, and like we were on our way, But for whatever reason, like the low tables over the weekend, like there was one dude that I told him if I had to come back to his table, I was giving him a yellow card. And he called a judge one round because he'd never seen heroic intervention before. Yeah. Called a judge another round because he couldn't understand how the bodyguard rule worked, and he thought like the effects of the shot should be going on the character that he was targeting. And I explained over and over that you can't even target the character because of the bodyguard rule. And he's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And I'm thinking, like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. Like, I've explained this. You can't comprehend it. And, like, the dude's wearing a jersey with a nickname and everything on it. So I'm thinking, like, I'm going to assume you're not a new player. I'm not sure why we're getting these stupid questions. And then the last one, was basically I got called over because it was Death Guard on Death Guard. And he was like, well, if he does spread the sickness on an objective, can I do spread the sickness on an objective? And I'm like, if I have to come back to your table, I'm giving you a yellow card. So, and another one I got called because the guy says, I got called over. And I said, what's going on? He's like, well, I didn't hear him claim Rod. And I said, okay, well, what did the unit do? He's like, well, it disembarked from the Rhino. I said, did it shoot? Did it move? Did it charge? What did it do? He's like, well, it just disembarked from the Rhino and stood there. I said, okay. I said, assuming that your opponent picked Rod as a secondary, and that's what that unit did, I think you two could probably discuss that that was probably a clean Rod. And if you want him to speak up, you should ask your opponent to speak up. And this is some shit you should not be calling the judge over for. And he looks at me and he goes, I didn't hear him declare Rod. And I just walked off. I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm not even doing this. So,
Man, I didn't have any of that crazy stuff at Renegade. I would probably been a little bit meaner than you.
yeah, what's funny is like it was like table 30 and below. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't even like mid-table heroes, try hard stuff. It was like guys guys were like clawing their way to like 2 and 4 type shit, So.
Well, we had you come measure. Me and Ben had a close measurement, so we're just like, rather than us try to argue, not even argue about it, just say, hey, let's get a third party. Is it in or is it out? That's.
Dude, the best thing about those clear acrylic bases was like I I took a dry erase to the damn thing, so it was.
I actually like those. Those are marks, weren't they?
Yeah, Mark Newson made those and got the plexiglass cut for the bases, and they look.
I loved it, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually, I liked it a lot. And then but like exactly what you did right there, being able to just literally draw on the base to check something that made it extremely clean and easy. So.
yep, it was good stuff, man. And it was funny before that round. I guess there is a funny little story in regards to that. Was David brought that terrain, and like both of you dudes were individually triggered about that terrain before that round. So,
Dude,
and,
I didn't realize that thing was that big.
yeah,
Well,
Jason
see,
messaged
Dan,
me.
I didn't like that, man.
Yeah, Jason messaged me and he's like, "Hey, are you gonna change the train for next round?" I was like, "Yeah," and I'm thinking to myself like, "I'm gonna finish eating lunch and then I'll get back there and do it." And next thing I know, like Matt's like, "Hey, we need to get out there," and I was like, "All right." And I saw the both of you guys look at that table in disgust, and I was like, "Yeah, we're changing it. Don't worry."
Oh, dude, I just took that piece off the table and started setting it up. I was like, nope. It was like an 18-inch by.
It was an
7.
Alamo. It was like
Yeah.
a replica Alamo, and it was cool that David sponsored a table, but that sucker was huge, man.
That might be the single. I honestly think that might be the biggest piece of terrain that I've ever seen on a 40K table in the last 2 editions.
Yeah,
It was
and
huge.
It was huge. Yeah.
David seemed to have a good event, and he was on his best behavior, so that was cool.
He
And
didn't have all of his Texas homies riling him up. I swear to you, they all just like go back to the hotel room and jerk each other off, and then they come back riled up.
hype each other up. Dude, fucking Walt and Eddie were there, man. Them dudes are like the Bill and Ted of 40K, man. So that was some fun shit for Texas guys. So it was we had the good Texas people this weekend, so that was awesome. But
Yeah, imagine that. Somebody specific was missing, and it was actually okay.
yeah,
I wonder who that could have been.
Rebel Rouser. But yeah, so it was good. I don't know, it was fun. It was a good weekend. Alex seemed to enjoy judging and breaking down the Thousand Sons Codex, and Duncan was stressed every time he turned around, and so it was Matt.
Duncan?
Yeah, we did mess up some stuff, and I don't know. This might be a good time to talk about it because I remember talking to Cookie at Bug Eater, that like sometimes as a judge you just make the best call that you can at the table, and sometimes it's not the right call, and sometimes you don't. You make the mistake, or you make a ruling based on the information at hand, and you don't have all the information, and and there was a couple instances where we ruled, Matt ruled one way at one table, and I ruled the opposite way at the other table, and I was right, but I wound up having to go to the player that we ruled against, and just basically apologize and just say, hey, we got that wrong. I'm sorry, and we'll, it won't happen again, but we didn't make a mistake. And like the dude was like cool about it, just like, yeah, I appreciate that, and went about it, and
Yep.
and that's
I start all my tournaments off by saying that my judges' words are final. Even like you can argue till your face is red, but if they rule at the table, that's final. And like I rarely have to go. I mean, there's a couple times when some of my lower judges are wrong, but that's like I go to the table and be like, hey, what happened? And they're like, well, this would have mattered. And I'm like, well, what did the judge rule? And they're like, well, this. And I'm like, well, his word's final, so
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like for the speed of the tournament, we're not going to sit there and hold up your game while he goes and researches every last little rule that you guys might have a question about. He's just going to do the best of his ability and move on.
yeah. And speaking of David, now that I'm thinking about it, I ruled against him on a game, and he was like, okay, and then he came up later with the GT handbook, and showed me basically where he was trying to find it when I was there, and he couldn't find it, and came up with it later, and sure shit, I was fucking wrong. And I just basically told him, yeah, you're right, dude, my bad. And he's like, oh, it's no big deal. He goes, I accepted the ruling. I was just letting you know in case it comes up in the future. And so I do need to give him a little props because that was pretty good sportsmanship. So, but
Well, dude, yeah, it's a complex game, and you don't expect a judge to know every corner case ruling. It's never going to happen.
You know, and I'm a tournament player. You know, I regularly attend and play tournament games, and you know, there's still stuff that I was joking with Alex. I was like, when after David showed me that, I was like, yeah, I was years old when I found that out. You know, it was
Well,
like,
it's like, yeah, I mean, you could ask yourself about the Orcs Codex, Sister Codex, new Thousand Sons of Grey Knights Codex. I'm clueless on them. I'm gonna have to look at them themselves before I can give you a ruling.
yeah. Oh, well, that's one thing I did have, man. I had one ruling or one call to the table, and someone was trying to do something, and the other player goes, "Well, they FAQ'd that." I'm like, "Well, can you show me the FAQ?" And well, no, but they FAQ'd that. I'm like, I told you guys when you called us up to a table to have the stuff out, have the rulings. You know, the Games Workshop FAQs are online.
Here's my question for you, just real quick.
Uh,
Was this an FAQ related to his army?
no, his opponent's army.
Oh, okay.
And I said, well, can you show it to me? And he basically just kept repeating to me that like they FAQ'd that. And I'm like, well, I could call a judge and say they FAQ'd that, and I need to see it, and that was kind of got a little contentious, but it worked itself out.
It takes all but like 2 minutes to pull up an FAQ ruling online,
Yeah.
though. So
Yeah, I agree. But that's not my job when I go up to the
why-
table.
yeah.
It's theirs.
yeah.
That's hilarious, Bam. They FAQ'd that. Okay. And do you have it out? No. Well, I don't give a shit then. Sorry.
And that's the truth. It's harsh, but it's the reality of it. If you call a judge to your table, have your shit in order. It's not hard to do. Have it figured out.
Ultimately, you want your opponents to try to exhaust all options of, getting to a conclusion before you call a judge over.
Yeah, I agree. And
Yeah, that's a good point, Dilly. Just be like, listen, motherfuckers. Like, you don't have your FAQ out. I don't even care. I'm walking away.
yeah, but it was a good experience for me. And this year went smoother than previous years. Everything went on time. We had good prizes to give away. It seemed like a lot of people won some cool shit. And it was funny, like I was seeing some of the swag that was like going out in bags or going to people. I was like, man, that's my fucking artwork, and I don't even have one of those, like some stuff.
Oh, so was like the swag different for everybody? Like I know I was like a tier 1. I got a hammerhead carrying case. Was that not all that for the tier 1?
Yeah, the swag changed with the tiers, and
Oh, gotcha.
yeah, and we had some different kinds of objective markers for stuff, and it was we really tried to put a lot of work in the swag bag.
Yeah,
Like we're not doing monkey to make money. We're doing monkey to like have a good event and have everybody get some cool shit. So like one of the places I think like you can make players happy. My philosophy on the GT is like you want the top players at your event, but they're not there at your event for you to suck their dick. Like they're there to try and win ITC points. They're there to try and win, Lord Marshal points. They're there to try and take home the crown or take home best whatever. And like you shouldn't spend all your time trying to like suck top player dick. Like the dudes who make the tournament are the guys that are filling out the guys and gals that are filling out the middle tables. The people that are, RJ Harris on a table 30 whatever being happy because he went 3-3. Like those dudes deserve to have fun and get some swag and get cool shit just as much, as the Dan Salmons up on the table 1 or the Ben Sherwin on table 1 or whatever. And so that's why we kind of do our swag bags the way we do. That even if you're that dude that's going to spend the weekend and go 3-3 or 4-2, like you're going to leave with a cool set of objective markers, some other measuring tools, some dice, some whatever, because we put that money into the swag bags. Because one will be happy they came out. You spend 200 some bucks on a hotel room, you spend whatever money you spend on a ticket, you take time away from your family, you take time away from your gal, your guy, or whatever, and you go spend a weekend. Like you think about it, it can add up to $500 easy, with fucking food and, whatever you need to take care of while you're there, running to the store and grabbing this or whatever you need in your room. And to walk out of that like empty handed with nothing physical to show for it or nothing cool in your pocket it's kind of a lame experience sometimes. And I've been there, and I've walked out of tournaments where I'm like, oh, that dude that won got like $1,000 worth of shit, and I got a notepad and a pencil from this dentist in my swag bag, and so it just kind of, that's why we do the swag bags the way we do. Long story short. But I got ranting, guys. Sorry.
All good.
But we're at about an hour, guys.
What's really funny about that, Bam?
What's that?
Charlie Andre has had a phenomenal first season with Warhammer, and the dude has literally won nothing. Like, I'm talking like swag, like prize support, won nothing. He got top 8 at ACO, he got nothing, and like, he was super mad because I wanted to leave and get on the road right away after Monkey. No offense, Bam, but it was like we were gonna get in at like 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
Right.
And like, he was just like, but I might get top Jukari. No, like, no, I might have won something. And then when he didn't, he was like, fuck. So,
but even Charlie not winning something, he should have gotten something cool in his swag bag.
Well, he did. He liked that.
Yeah, good. But that's why we do what we do with those. And like, people were surprised they got trays, but we had a good deal with Tony, and Tony makes a good carrying tray, so that's why we did what we did for the top tier. So
surprised the heck out of me when I got it. I was like, oh, cool, I could use this right now. Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, that's cool. It was good. I'm happy it's over. Jesus. But we're moving to September next year, and will be the end of the Lord Marshal season, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes. So it'll be a lot more awards and a lot more things we have to handle, but we'll do it. So, and then Jason's going to be in easy mode for the year, so we should see how it goes.
Is everyone going to Halo?
I'm going to Halo.
Dilly.
Yeah, it's my best Benny Boy's wedding, so I'll be doing that. Hopefully the one and only for him, right?
What the hell?
Yeah.
All I know is none of you fuckers better throw a GT on March 12th. That's when I'm getting married, so.
There's a new
Carries.
Renegade GT on
Yeah,
March 12th.
problem. not letting get Lord Marshal points. Fuck off. So, but
That sounds like Illuminati bullshit to
yeah,
me.
Illuminati bullshit and works. So, but all right, guys, let's. We're over an hour and we ran through everything. I think next week I might try and pin down Ben for a deep dive on the Grey Knights, because Ben has been coaching me a little bit, so we'll see if that helps me at Halo or not. So it's
Dude, the Grey Knights, fear them, fear me.
Is Alex salty about Thousand Suns?
no, dude, he's digging the book.
He's got
Man.
a hard dick for them.
Yeah, like I think he was about to get a boner out of his Ranger panties at the
Dude,
the
it's a
deal
good
reading
book.
the book.
I still got to read both. One of the guy I drove with, Cam, was like trying to explain Grey Knights on the way back, and I was like, I just need to see him on the table because I'm getting confused. I got like 10 different things, like 10 different chapter things.
The Brotherhoods.
Brotherhoods get a little confusing.
He's reading them all to me, and I was like, dude, my brain just turned to mush. I was like, this one sounds
Dude,
good.
you know what's even that Zinch book, the Thousand Suns book, I think is going to be picked up by some competitive guys, because there's some good stuff in there. But I also think it's going to be picked up by the cheaters, because there's easy way for shenanigans with that Thousand Suns book.
I read something about like you get a move when you get declared charged, or there's some like crazy movement shenanigans is what I was reading about, but I don't
With
really
Grey
know.
Knights or Thousand Suns?
The Thousand Suns.
I think it's
Okay.
a warlord trait or a relic or something like that, where you get to fire Overwatch and then move 6 inches.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, then there was
Yeah.
something like if you were over 9 inches away, it fails. Like a
Yeah, that's my favorite relic in the book. I think it's just it's not. So what it is it's not if you're over 9 inches away. It's a charge roll of a 9+ fails. So even if you're 2 inches away and you roll a 9, you fail.
Yeah. Well, people were just talking about the combo of those two, and I was like, my head hurts. I was like, I don't. That's why I told some of those guys, like, I was like, just get some lists together, and I'll watch you guys play, because I have no idea what the fuck.
That Thousand Suns
Well,
books, it's going to be, you think AdMech needed markers? That motherfucker, yeah,
Yep.
they got Cabal points, they got all this unit's got this set of spells and this ability, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you better put a marker down, bitch, because I can't live this life this way. So, but we'll get into that a little bit next week. Final thoughts, Dilly. We'll start with you.
Not really. It was a fun tournament, fun week. My ankle's on the up for everybody who's worried about me, and again,
weren't
still be on the
actually
lookout for
worried.
New Year's knockout. Apparently, everybody's worried because, man, I feel like every other day someone's asking me about my ankle. I was like, guys, I'm fine. I'm totally good.
That means you
Like,
got friends and they care about you. Fuck off.
I
man.
know. I mean, I know what it's about, but I'm just at the same time. It's like, I'm cool, guys. I'm an old tough cookie.
Shit.
Yeah, you ain't old yet. No, don't. You're not in boomer range like Bam.
Oh,
No, not
Jesus
yet.
Christ. So, put Ben on mute.
Yeah.
So,
Ah.
Ben, what thoughts you got to close her out, man?
Look out for Grey Knights, baby.
Yeah. It's good to see Ben excited to play 40K. He got his soul back. So,
Yep.
Dan, what you got?
I got nothing.
Got nothing. All right, we hope to see everybody at Halo. Apparently, everybody of us will be there except for Dilly. So, but that's the next big event for us, and then our season ends, and we kick over to another season. But Ben's still chasing that ITC dragon. So watch this season, and we'll see what he does after Halo. So,
Are you still doing the team tournament then?
Yep.
that looks
Here I
like
am
Las
playing
Vegas
Grey
one or a
Knights.
different one?
What's that?
Are you doing the Las Vegas one or a different team
Yep.
tournament?
Yep. I'm doing the Las Vegas team tournament. Advanced Warfare is bringing a team down.
Nice.
should be solid. So, all right, guys, well, remember to, I lost my train of thought. But anyways, we'll see you guys next week.
Later.
Goodbye.
All right, bye. Stop recording.
Game over, man. It's game